There are times in life when one must push themselves forward in a certain way. To achieve or gain something might lead a person to exaggerate or use persuasion to get what they want. Some people might describe this as being dishonest. However, in life, you will find that most people at some point will say something untrue so as to gain a certain thing. Which leads me on to today's word. This particular word is often used in British English when someone uses persuasion or a forceful argument for being allowed to do something. We might use the word blag. For example, you might blag your way through a job interview. You are able to convince the person holding the interview to see you again for a second meeting. The word blag refers to the action of convincing someone that you are the right person for that job. Some people might call it persuasion. You are using a persuasive argument or point so as to appear confident and suitable for the job. It is possible for someone to embellish their abilities and credentials. The basics of what you are telling them is true. However, a certain amount of embellishment is added to those details. To embellish is to add other things to something so as to make it appear more attractive. To blag your way through an important job interview is not an unusual situation. Sometimes it is necessary to be creative with one's own achievements. Of course, the problem with doing this is being found out. It all depends on how far you go with your story. You might add one or two details to your background information, such as your qualifications and work experience. For this, it is important to make sure that the basic information is true. To blag is to exaggerate in a persuasive way. This can also involve the amount of confidence you have whilst being questioned. These days, with the increasing use of video conferencing for job application interviews, it might be easier to convince another person to employ you, or at least give you an opportunity to attend a second interview. There are other situations where a person might have to use their persuasive personality to blag their way in. Perhaps you are trying to get into a nightclub or a place where only certain people are allowed. You might have to use some extra persuasion to get in. It would be fair to say that most people at some point will exaggerate something for their own ends. Of course, it is always best not to exaggerate too much, as in the future those moments of overconfidence might come back to bite you.